So now you've moved over
Yeah.
to working with Tom in Zero Weakness, right?
Yeah. It's been a week and a half now. So
Well, what served your thinking? Why did you do the move? Like, what was your train of thought?
sure. I think this can go like either way. I have two directions that this can go in.
Welcome to the STS podcast, Jade, Duncan. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, great. Thanks. How are you, Ed? Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, an absolute pleasure. I've been wanting to have you on for a while now. Like you're one of
I know.
SA's elite. But tell
I'm
me,
so
man,
sorry.
I've
It's
been
been a
wanting.
long time coming.
It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to ask you, man. Like I feel like you popped out of nowhere. Like you stepped onto the scene and immediately became one of the best juniors in the sport, and then one of the best female athletes in the sport. Period. In SA. Where did this come from? Where did you come from?
I don't know. It's actually so funny. I think I've actually I thought you were going to ask something similar, and I think I've actually heard my story more than I've told my story, which is quite funny. But no, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I also come from like a CrossFit background. I know a lot of people do. And the same thing, heavy lifting was the most exciting part of a CrossFit class for me. And then with COVID, when it like started to get more like chilled and everything, I then joined the Virgin Active and not my old CrossFit box. And it just started from there. So yeah.
That's incredible. So like, where was your first?
Yeah.
When was your first powerlifting meet? Like, when did that start?
My first powerlifting meet, I think it was March of 2021. It was like a pit bull comp in Joburg. And it was the weirdest thing. Like I got there and it wasn't set up yet, nothing to them. I was quite early because that's just the person that I am. Got there and it was like in the middle of Joburg. And
Yeah.
I was terrified. And yeah, I just got to know everyone. And then I actually competed the weekend after as well at Power Wars 2021. Don't ask me why. I thought it was a good idea. And yeah, those were the first two comps.
How was your body feeling during Power Wars?
I think it was the weirdest thing. Like, I really didn't know better. So I
Mhm.
obviously did poorly at my first meet. I think I totaled like 285 or something like ridiculous. And then the next weekend, I actually got my bearings together. I even weighed in after work because I didn't know weighing in was so important. So rocked up after work, weighed in for the next day, and then got a better total the next weekend at least.
Okay. So tell us, where's your total now? What's your SVD?
As of Badger 2022, it was 482.5. Yeah,
That is
482.
in freaking insane. That is
Yeah,
insane. Well, what's the split on that?
say again.
What's the split on that between your squat, bench, and dead?
Um, yeah, so this is last year November, so it's already a couple of months ago. But it is a 190, a 92.5, and a 200. So yeah, the split. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, this is a little bit embarrassing because, granted, we're comparing your last meet a couple years into my first meet, but I was also a 125 kilo male at the time. I think my first total ever was 505.
Oh well, that's so good. Everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah, but like what do you competed under 60, under 67. Which weight class is it?
I have competed under 60, but I did under 67.5. So waiting at 65.9,
Dude, that's
at Badger. Yeah.
insane. That is insane. So tell me, like what? Because your kind of success is there's very few people at your level or higher. Like, what do you attribute that kind of success to?
I wouldn't say success. Like it's so funny. Like to me, like I find myself in quite a weird spot in SA powerlifting. Like
Mm.
I obviously climbed the ranks quite quickly, but I'm also so far behind the top ladies. Like it's this weird spot. I think it's just a mixture of finding something that I was finally passionate about. I wasn't really good at sports in school or anything, never stood out in anything. So when I found powerlifting, it's like, I'm actually not bad in this. And I think my love and obviously being like in the Badger team, I just wanted to do well and I did not give up. Like when I start something, I want to be excellent in it. So
Mm.
I think when the bug bit me, it was just, it stuck.
That's
Yeah.
insane. But tell me, how
Yeah.
is the vibe inside the Badger team? I know a lot of people outside like to comment on from the outside looking in how the Badger team is, but from the inside looking out, like what's the vibe like?
Well, obviously, I'm not part of them anymore, but it was a very sad thing for me to do. But I think, I don't know what the external opinions are of Badger, but for me, like, I have never met a group of people more supportive. It's actually quite funny. I was thinking about the other day, like, my best friendships have come from powerlifting, from the Badger team, from Martin to Calvin to Danielle, Arnold. Some of those people and more, those are just a few names, have become the most important people in my life. So it's this close-knit group of people that no matter what you go through, like I went through quite a rough patch at the beginning of the year that's not powerlifting related. And those were the first people that have been there, like literally from day one. So if it's wrapping you, making sure you're okay, making sure your personal life is going well, a burger on a Saturday night, that is Badgers. So yeah, quite a special group of people. Yeah.
That's nice to hear. So now you've moved over
Yeah.
to working with Tom in Zero Weakness, right?
Yeah. It's been a week and a half now. So very recent. Yeah.
How's the first week and a half going?
You know what? It's so humbling. I actually had my first sleeve squats session on Monday, and it's just such a humbling thing. Like, first I'm doing tempo, sleeve squats,
Mm.
everything changing. I did my first conventional deadlift in like 2.5, 3 years. So it's just bizarre to again like be a rookie, like a complete rookie in something, and it's just a humbling experience, but very interesting. Like, yeah, very cool
Okay.
first week.
Well, what served your thinking? Why did you do the move? Like, what was your train of thought?
Sure. I think this can go like either way. I have two directions that this can go in. It's so funny. I think you and I spoke about the podcast, and the next day I posted about moving to zero. And I actually thought, is he going to ask me about this?
Of course.
But obviously, I think for me, I've been a fan of Thomas for a very long time since I actually started lifting before he coached Kurt, funny enough. So when he started coaching Kurt, I thought that was the coolest thing.
Mm.
One of his lifters is actually obviously being in RPC or competing majority of my comps in RPC. The number one 60 kg female junior is one of Thomas's athletes. So from the time I started, I looked at her records as like the golden number for me. And when he started coaching Kurt, I was like, okay, this is very interesting. Got to meet him at Elite Raw last year. Had a conversation, but I wasn't ready to leave the Badgers just yet. And then this year, I think moving to Cape Town, being on my own, I just got to thinking that maybe, yeah, for a few reasons, maybe it would be a good idea for me to start looking out. And I had a conversation with him. And honestly, the conversation went so quickly with Thomas that I thought, you know what, I'm 16 weeks out. It's now or only at the end of the year. And I thought about moving over to him just because of the coach that he is, the athletes that he does coach. And I mean, look at Kurt and Colton, what they have done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it was just crazy. And the conversation went so quickly that I decided to move over being 16 weeks out. Yeah.
No, that's incredible. So now with his previous successes, do you feel like you have a little bit of pressure on yourself? Other people are looking at you to be like, well, now that you've moved over to him, we're expecting similar greatness from you. Do you feel any sense of that kind of pressure?
No, like I hope not. I don't want to be pressurized. I think that I think I do have quite a bit. I think from the outside you might think like someone is a put together lifter. I'm really not. I have a lot of weaknesses. I gave Thomas this list of weaknesses that I have, that I want to work on. And now starting again from the bottom, like I'm squatting, 100 at the moment. Like that is what it is to start over, to actually take yourself back to a place where you're not going to be repping 160 every week. Like take yourself back to being open to squatting maybe 50%, literally 50% of my max. Like, and going through the process. Okay, shit, like 75 tempo squats are challenging. Like
Mm.
that's the truth. You don't have to be the strongest lifter always. So I think for me, the next 16 weeks, although I really do want something cool at the end of the year, it's my last comp as a junior. I think I've accepted that I really want to build a great basis going into 2024 and 2025 because I do have some big plans ahead, hopefully. and I think we can get there. I think Thomas can really take me there. So for this year, hopefully there's no pressure. But yeah, I think I put enough pressure on myself, so I try to avoid outside pressure. Yeah,
I find most of the high level athletes have a similar sort of mentality. It's sort of like internalize, focus on what I'm doing, don't mind what everyone else is doing or saying. It's very seldom you find a high level athlete who cares much about what the outside is doing. You know?
Yeah. I think it's so funny. Like, and Martin actually knows me really well as a lifter, and he would also say this. I critique myself so much in training that no external critique can actually get to me. It's quite funny. Like, I will send him a video, or I used to send him a video with all my own critique on myself. So now with Thomas, I'm actually trying not to do that because he is the coach. I am the lifter. Trying not to critique myself too much and actually just leave it out there. But yeah, you have to be hard on yourself.
I find a lot of people who aren't quite at that level aren't hard enough on themselves. Like you see a lot of people who post a squat online that's a mile high, patting themselves in the back, and then wonder why the rest of us don't agree with them. It's like you need to be a little bit harsher with yourself, you know?
No, exactly. And nothing to them, I think there's like, you have your lifestyle powerlifters and you have your powerlifters, and nothing wrong with being a lifestyle powerlifter if that's what you want to do. But I think somewhere you have to have like that self-realization of that is not a good squat. That's not going to get you in a comp. Like, and that goes back to like maybe me, for instance, now breaking my squat down to like literally 100 kgs in the gym to get it absolutely perfect, and then building up again. And you have to have that ability in you to say, okay, yes, it's a great squat, it's heavy, but it's not there. So you need to break it down and see, where am I going wrong? Is it too heavy? Are you doing something wrong? And rebuild again. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, 100%.
But I have a lot to learn, so we'll see.
I mean, that's the thing about being a scholar of the sport. It's you never actually stop learning. Like I watch a decent number of podcasts of like Dave Tate and Ed Cohn and lifters like that who say like they still constantly learning new things decades later in the sport, long after they've retired as athletes themselves. So I mean that's the thing about the sport. Like you're never going to have everything dialed in all at once at any point in time. There's always going to be something more you can improve or learn on.
No, I agree. I think that's part of the reason, actually, going back to your previous question, moving to Thomas, I think the knowledge that guy has, like, and the knowledge, like the whole Zero team, and obviously the people that he's worked with. And I actually listen to their podcast sometimes, and the one section said, or the one part said about the amount of lifters that he's worked with. Somewhere along the line, you're going to pick up things, and that takes years. This person has 10 years behind his name, and that only comes from experience working with all these lifters. So now every day you learn something new. I'm quite new in the sport, so every day I literally learn something new.
No, that's incredible. But tell me, with the move down to Cape Town now, how's the Cape Town powerlifting scene? How's the vibe there?
You know what? Like, I think I got to know the Pretoria or the Gauteng community really well, and was really involved as well. So I think moving down has been a big adjustment. I'm not going to lie to you. My whole team was in Pretoria, my whole life, my whole like training with the badges, every single session, competitions, working at every comp almost, being at all the comps that I'm not working at, being really involved to kind of getting here. And a few people have been really welcoming, but I'm pretty much on my own, I would say. Like, there are a few people, I would say, like Hardes and JP and them from the IP crew, or a few Genesis people have really reached out and tried to make me feel welcome. But I'm pretty much on my own. But at least, there's like the obviously Western Cape crew that have also gone out of their way to make me feel welcome. But it's a big adjustment. No, it's very different, yeah. But the people are great down here, like, so relaxed. Yeah, no, it's great.
I did find the few times I've traveled to Cape Town and trained there, I find especially the Genesis crew, shout out to them. It's always like a really cool vibe at their gym. Like it's a very welcoming environment. So I envy that a little bit, because we don't have a powerlifting hub like that here. It's like sprinkled across. But I will admit though, the powerlifters here, at least the ones who don't get into interfederational politics too much, the powerlifters here in PE also, it's a very like good tight-knit community. Everyone knows everyone. We train together when we can. It's like a vibe. Which is what I love about the
Yeah,
sport. I feel like the sport, it's easy to make friends in powerlifting.
it's so funny when I moved down here, obviously moving down on my own, like obviously not knowing many people here. Danielle and our good friends, and she's down here. But other than that, it's the powerlifting community. And my new job actually asked me, "Do you know anyone?" I'm like, "I know powerlifters. Like wherever, if you do powerlifting, you will have friends throughout the country. That's just a fact."
Yeah, yeah, that is very
Yeah,
true.
that's
So I've seen over
yeah.
social media this like phenomenal friendship between you and Danielle form over the last 2 years. Like, how did that start? How did you become besties?
She's great. It's actually so funny. I don't think we would have met or become friends without powerlifting. I think we are just two completely different people. But it's so funny. Actually, I told you the story as well. In 2021 nationals, I'm just like over planning everything I do. So before I compete, I like knowing who's competing, who's from where, who does what, just to know who I'm up against, just to like prepare myself mentally. Once again, if you prepare for anything, you will be ready for anything.
Mm,
And I saw this girl, Danielle full unit. I'm like, who is this person? Went on to open powerlifting, and I think she totaled like 470 or something ridiculous. I'm like, no, who's this person? I've never heard of her. Eventually found her. I'm like, okay, she seems like quite a nice person. I actually messaged her and said, I see you are traveling to Pretoria. If you need anything, let me know. I know what it's like showing up to a comp in a new, or I don't know what it was like in a new place, but showing up to a comp and kind of not knowing your way around. Obviously,
mm.
just competing that March, feeling the same. And she responded and she kind of hung out with us on the day with the badges. And yeah, we became friends. And when I moved down, we actually started like really becoming good friends. But just through the badges, through powerlifting, it's quite funny. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite cool. Now she's also in
Yeah.
Cape Town, right?
Villiersdorp, yeah. So around the corner. But yeah, I think powerlifting really, you will find the best group of people and you'll really meet like some of the best friends you will ever have through this sport. Yeah.
So do you guys train together at some point in time, or like what's the dynamic on a day by day?
No, we have never trained together. So I'm in Durbanville and she's in Villiersdorp. We have never. Oh no, we have. I think we did a bench session together a while ago, and maybe at the badges we trained together. But yeah, we trained together in Pretoria, but not in Cape Town, which is quite funny. Yeah, no, no, I'm on
I,
my own here.
I would have imagined with y'all being so close now, it would be like the dynamic duo doing their thing.
No, no, no. Like it's literally, it's so sad. Like Genesis is around the corner. It's about a 20K drive or 20-minute drive, but I work 10 minutes to the other side of my house. So it's just like in peak traffic, 5 p.m. I have the normal 8 to 5, So
Yeah.
driving from 5 p.m., 30Ks in peak traffic, it was just quite sad because it's right here. But I'm pretty much on my own in IPIC. Like it's just me. There's no like one or two other powerlifters, but that's it. Yeah.
Now, how do you find? Are you training at a commercial gym? Like, what gym are you training at?
Yes, yes. So sometimes I do go to Virgin Active and then other times to IPIC. So it's a combination. Yeah.
So how's the vibe training at a more commercialized gym where your kind of strength level is very
Mm.
like out of the ordinary, very eye catching? Like what's a session feel like for you?
I would not say it's out of the ordinary. To me, it feels very ordinary. um, but no, it's different. Like I actually watched my video the other day, and I think that's when you realize it's not normal. I was benching, I think 75 or something, and I think it was at 65, and someone asked me, "Do you want a spot?" I'm like, and it was just like a reaction. I'm like, no, this is warm ups. Like, I don't need a spot. Like, but then I realized, okay. And in my 75 video, I unracked the bar and I can see in the video, like this one schoolboy, like there's a lot of schoolboys that train there.
Yeah.
And he like tucks his friend and he's like, check this. And I do my first 2 reps and they tuck their third friend, check this. And I can see in my video this row of schoolboys looking at me. And it's so funny how different it is, but you don't realize it until you like watch your videos back. But yeah, it's very
I find that
different.
that's the thing when you've been in powerlifting long enough, you forget that you're stronger than 99.9% of the planet. Like what
Yeah.
you can do, very few people in history have ever been able to do.
Yeah. I actually told a friend last night, we spoke about it. She's in bodybuilding and or it was like this whole thing of comparing yourself. And I said, to you, it feels like everyone does well. Everyone can lift heavy. Everyone deadlifts 230. I literally open Instagram and it's every second girl does 230. And I'm like, oh my word. But then you think that's the circle you like surround yourself with. That's why it feels like every person does it. But just take yourself out of that circle and you realize how weird it is. Well, not weird, but like how special it is what you can do, you know?
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
often felt like I'm also like my own harshest critic. And I'm always like,
Yes.
I always have this mentality like, oh, when I reach this goal, I'll be happy. And then you get there and you're like, no, I want the next one. This one sucks. I want to be there. And when you get guys like Colton and Nicholas and Kurt who are like totaling 1,000, I'm like even though like my 885 is like 11th highest total in SA history, I'm like, now by shit, 1,000's a standard now.
But I'm quite a competitive person, and I actually saw that you overtook my dots, and I'm like, no, because I saw it drop down, and I'm like, okay, and I saw it was Edgar.
I didn't even know that. I didn't
No, well
realize.
done.
Yes, I'll take the win.
You know something I can actually tell you, and you really get mad respect for people, for lifters especially, when you actually go and calculate what it takes to overtake them. Like just to yourself, like, or you even like for me to go and calculate what I need to overtake you now, or overtake whoever, like as a healthy competition thing, then you start realizing how strong someone is. Like if I have to go sit and calculate what I need to overtake or compete with, or just even get close to Danielle's dots, it's so humbling. Like that calculation, a dots calculator is very humbling.
Yeah, listen, that's to me, I'm very old school, because I've been in the sport a little bit longer, so I'm all about the total. So
Yes,
dots has never bothered me too much. I'm like, yeah, cool. You're like, you out dots me, but you're 30 kilos lighter than me. Check, I out total you.
okay,
So I'm really old school like that, but I do have an appreciation of like when someone can like lift. Like you're probably totaling something stupid like 8 times your body weight. I mean, like, that's actually freaking insane.
And I have no idea.
Wait, do the math real quick. You said you had a 480 total.
Is it a 4? I think it is 482. Yes, it's 482. Yeah, 17 to 500, 17.
So 7.3 times your body weight. That is insane, man.
I did not know that. Thank you.
So it's I do have mad respect for people with like a crazy high dots. I mean, like Danielle's dots is freaking
like
up there.
Like and like people like Kurt and Nicholas and Colton, it's just bizarre. Like it's actually mind blowing. Like you see they're lifting, and we get used to it again in a community. Like you see this lift, and you're like, okay, it's the fourth time we've seen this person pull 400. Okay, it's cool. It is always mind blowing, but it's cool. You know this. But then actually, when you think about it, it's not normal.
That's very not
It's
normal.
bizarre.
It's very not normal.
And like for me, like watching Danielle and Rowan's lift, especially, like Rowan just like raping 220 and Danielle like raping the same. That's bizarre.
Now, what kills me is I'm technically, in an absolute sense, stronger than these individuals. But if you catch me on a bad day, when my back is a little bit niggly because I'm suffering with a little bit of a pinched nerve in my back now. If you catch me on a bad day, Rowan and Danielle would out deadlift circles around me. Like genuinely with ease. And I'm like, that's actually insane. Like I'm a 125 kilogram male, and these females could out deadlift me if I'm having a bad day. That is insane.
And I mean, let's not, like Denise Harper, I don't know if you see her videos. I think it's obviously from Germany, but pulling a 270 beltless, like, isn't that like mind blowing? Like,
yeah, listen, I for 100% sure would not be able to do that right now.
It's bizarre to me that someone can do that, but anyway.
No, man, it's nice that the sport. I feel like the sport is in this like golden era right now where it's finally become popular enough that athletes like you, athletes like them, are in the sport and are just like if you had predicted 2 years ago that we would have 3,000 pound, 1,000 kilo totals in SA by this year, no one would have believed you. Like, from who's going to do that? And now we're like, we have 3, and there are at least 2 other athletes I think could pull it off in the next 6 months if they wanted to.
Okay.
And then we have how many 500 kilo totals in the females? Like 3, 4?
Oh, that's a good. I think no. I only think it's the 4 ladies above me. So I think 4. I
So
think.
four,
Maybe
500
I
with
could
you
be
edging
wrong.
behind.
Maybe we hope so. But I think I could be wrong. Maybe there is someone else. I just filtered according to dots. So maybe there is another. I have no
Let me do a
idea.
quick check here. Because we can.
Oh,
It's
I love
absolutely
open
insane.
powerlifting. Yeah, but I think there's going to be more coming very soon. I think it's same with the men. Like obviously it was Nicholas for very long, the only 1,000 kg guy, and then Colton and Kurt like all of a sudden. So I think it's going to be the same with females, and I think it's busy happening. I see like all these females busy creeping up, and especially junior females. Let me tell you, yeah, to me that's where the excitement is brewing at the moment. If I'm looking at the posts and everything online, I'm a bit behind with Instagram, but if I do see something, it's crazy to me the progress that I see every time that I see their videos again. But I think there's a few coming very soon, 500s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, this is absolutely insane. And I feel like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. It is the juniors who are like not no names, but like very new. No one really knows about them. And then you'll see them
Yeah.
post a total. And you're like, oh, that's not bad. Cool, whatever. 6 months later, they add 50 kilos to that. You're like, how the fuck you had 50 kilos in 6 months? And 50
And
kilos 6
yeah.
months after that. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Where'd you come from? What's going on here?
I felt like that. I think after Arnold, I think the amount of 150 kg squats, like I know it might sound silly, but for a female to squat 150, like to me that's heavy, and to
Yeah.
me to see the amount of girls doing it is just bizarre. Like 150, 160, you got 170 squats. No, it's crazy.
No, it's absolutely insane. We have 6 500 kilo totals plus in
Okay,
the country.
I did not know that. Okay,
Yeah, that is we have some strong people in this. So I mean, we're in a good
it's
spot. We're in a good spot in SA lifting. So I'm really excited to see what the next 2 to 5 years looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's been quite a common topic. I obviously do listen to your podcast whenever I can. I think I've listened to most of them.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
think that, yeah, it's pretty cool what you're doing, I must say. I think to give a bit of a spotlight, even if, I don't know how many people listen to it, but I think it's quite nice to also bring it up. I listen to podcasts, and now there's like an essay one, which is quite cool. But now I think we are in quite an exciting era of powerlifting. I think the excitement in like people seeing what they're able to do and just the numbers that people are coming up with is crazy. So no, it's very exciting. And obviously Nicolas going to an international comp, and I think the exposure for Kurt and Colton getting SA powerlifting out there, I think it's really special and very exciting. Yeah.
Now with you working with Thomas, and big things planned for future comps, like are you also looking at some of these international comps? Like what's your next 1 year plan?
Sure. I don't like at the moment. I think with Badger, I did have a few plans ahead, but I think now moving over, I honestly don't know what the next 16 weeks are going to bring or what the rest of the year is going to bring. Um, so yeah, but I think my plan, I would love to. I mean, who wouldn't love to compete internationally? I think I have a lot of work to do to even consider traveling for lifting or being considered like going to like a world or like a international comp. But I think that is kind of the goal that any serious powerlifter does have. So I think working with Thomas, I think the next year, just setting myself up and seeing what we can do. Maybe it's 2024, 2025, have a few big comps, hopefully see what yeah. Life happens. That's the one thing that I've learned about lifting. You can't always like only focus on powerlifting. So I just want to find the balance again. And maybe for the next year and a half, work towards maybe something cool and then see from there.
No, but that's brilliant. I know with myself now, it's I'm planning on going to Worlds now, not because I think like I'm gonna do spectacularly, but because I've been putting it off until I felt like my performance was off standard. And I realized this year, like, listen, I'm getting a little bit old now, and my old bones are not liking the sport as much as they used to. I'm like, if I don't do it relatively soon, I don't know if I'm ever going to have the chance. So let me just go to at least say I've gone and experienced it. But I feel
Exactly.
like as an athlete, like that world stage where you're comparing yourself against the best of the best in other countries as well. It's a little bit weird with the different federations and blah blah blah. So a worlds
Yeah.
isn't the pinnacle. These invitationals are more the pinnacle of what international powerlifting is like. But like just being in a different country, experiencing that on a different stage, I think it's something every athlete should strive towards at some point.
I agree. And I think just putting yourself out there, I think if you have the opportunity to go, and I mean, I think there's quite like a big excitement around the Manchester. It is Manchester, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I see this whole exciting vibe on Instagram about it. So I think if you have the opportunity to go and just to be on a world stage and kind of get off the national platform, in a way, put yourself against other international athletes, whatever federation is going to come from. You're never going to compete against every federation on one stage. That's just never going to happen. So to be on an international stage, I think it's a great step in the right direction. So no, that's very exciting. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. So Jade, before I let you go, is there anything you want to say to other female athletes like you, or aspiring athletes who are aspiring to be like you? Like what's your advice to those sort of people?
It's so funny to hear. Like, I don't know why someone inspired to be like me. It feels so weird to hear that. Like, I'm just honestly, maybe I can lift a few kgs, but I'm honestly just a girl trying to hold everything together and manage a job and powerlifting and studying and everything. It's not always as simple as it seems on Instagram. That I can promise you. Like, people have messaged me and said, like, if they're really inspired, or how am I like always so strong? I'm really not. Like, it doesn't always go well. I honestly don't post when it doesn't go well. Maybe I should. But it's not always easy. But I think for me personally, like finding something that you really love and that you're kind of good at is a blessing already. So if you find that in powerlifting, male, female, whoever you are, stick to it. Like, it's not easy. It's really not, but it's so worth it. Like, I think the person that I've become because of powerlifting exceeds just numbers. So yeah, I think that's quite a good thing about powerlifting for anyone wanting to join.
You heard it here first. Best damn sport on the planet. Quote me.
It really is. Like, it really changes you as a person as well. And that's why you become a better person, because you actually become like a stronger person. Yeah.
I think you have to be like you the amount of for lack of a better word, the amount of torture you have to put yourself through to gain a considerable amount of strength. Like if you don't change as a person to become a stronger, more rounded person after that, you're doing something wrong. Like you're missing the point here. Like there's so many times I'm like there's so many training sessions like recently now, because I'm getting a little bit of that, like my back's been iffy for so long. I'm getting a little bit of that, like having to psych myself up for every session now. But there's so many sessions where I'm like, I would 1000% rather chill in bed, eat junk, and just watch movies today. But I'm like, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna lift something fucking heavy, I'm gonna hate it, but I'm gonna get the job done.
Exactly. It's not going to lift itself. And I think when you actually get yourself to that point, like for me as well, like honestly, like it's not always easy. For me, coming home after a long day at work, that's already like, quite fast paced and busy. And now you have to go reset your mind in a very short period of time and go to the gym and again challenge yourself. Like, it takes a special kind of person to want to do this, but it's so rewarding. Actually, I think you posted like something about your progress deadlift, and that's actually how we started speaking about the podcast. And I mean, that progress, looking back to where you were, like, that's not going to happen sitting in bed. So
yeah, no, it's gonna take countless hours in the grind. But listen, Jade, listen, good luck with your training. Good luck with the new coach. I hope everything works out. We are expecting big things out of you, so I hope everything goes super well.
No pressure, but anyway. Ashim, Ed, thank you so much for having me. Finally, it was lovely chatting to you. Yeah, I really appreciate your time and this podcast and just what you guys are doing for SA powerlifting in general.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And to you guys at home, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, put a like, put a comment. See you in the next one.